Welcome to the debate. Our focus today is on a phenomenon that's really transforming the modern workplace, the intersection of advanced AI and human performance optimization. We're talking about systems designed not just to track output, but to, well, proactively influence the psychological state of the user or the employee.
And this is arguably the most crucial evolution in managerial tech we've seen, precisely because it shifts the focus from, external pressure to internal engineering.
Absolutely. So the core question before us is this. Does the emergence of AI-driven optimization, specifically using concepts like techno-eustress and this induced state of flow, does it offer a genuine ethical pathway to enhanced well-being and productivity? Or is it simply a highly sophisticated continuation of coercive managerial practices designed really for maximizing profitability? I'll be arguing that AI, by customizing challenge and fostering positive stress, what we call eustress, it facilitates authentic growth.
And I'm going to contend that this veneer of personalized optimization fundamentally masks a heightened form of exploitation. By co-opting positive psychological states like flow, AI ensures that the worker more efficiently extracts value from themselves for the ultimate benefit of capital, while completely failing to address the structural inequalities of the modern workplace.
Okay, so to start, I think we have to acknowledge the failure of the past. Traditional management techniques, they're blunt, they're standardized, target-driven, and they're proven to cause psychological distress. This is the bad stress that leads to burnout and reduced performance. What AI, especially when it's integrated with information systems and explainable AI, what it offers is a fundamentally different approach. It allows us to move away from that standardized distress and toward a personalized eustress.
But the organizational goals remain standardized, don't they? I mean, maximum output, maximum profitability, the organizational context, this, neoliberal pressure to produce, that hasn't changed.
But the mechanism has. AI can actively facilitate or mitigate different types of stress. We're interested in leveraging it to enhance what are called challenge technostressors, the elements that stimulate learning, mastery, and deep engagement. And these are strongly and positively linked to satisfaction and performance. We call the cognitions that produce these outcomes techno-eustress creators, meaning the user experiences the system as positively challenging and motivating.
Okay, can you elaborate on how this personalized challenge translates into tangible benefits for the worker?
Sure. It's rooted in achieving flow. Now, flow is that optimal psychological experience where a person is just intensely involved, feeling energized, and performing at their peak. And that's because the demands of the task perfectly match their skill level. AI is, it's excellent at constantly calibrating that match. This personalized approach facilitates what we call techno-mastery, improving how we process information and methods, and techno-autonomy, which genuinely motivates users to forge expanded choice in prioritizing tasks. And the numbers, they're staggering. Research has linked flow states to boosting productivity by up to 500% and creativity by 700%. This is the maximization of human potential, not coercion.
I agree that the state of flow is a deeply fulfilling and productive state. I do. But that 500% productivity boost you mentioned, that is precisely why we must be skeptical. Let me offer a different perspective grounded in the economic reality. When management traditionally enforced aggressive targets, it corroded relationships, it engendered anxiety, and all of that masked exploitation. The fundamental goal of AI optimization is perfectly aligned with this history: maximizing profitability.
But the employee is experiencing fulfillment and growth.
And the organization is extracting 5 times the labor value. See, when AI systems are instructed to induce optimal states like flow, they are merely optimizing the efficiency of labor extraction and attention capture. The entire benefit of that maximized output, that 500%, it shifts directly to capital. The tool may be elegant, sure, but it's still serving an unscrupulous purpose, one rooted in sustaining profit without redistributing the immense value that's being created.
But if the employee is genuinely engaged, this is a mutually beneficial exchange.
Is it? Engagement under conditions of intense economic competition and job insecurity? Well, it's highly suspect. The underlying structure remains the same. Managers rely on structural conditions, like the precariousness of employment, to aid worker compliance and control. Optimizing internal psychological states just makes this necessary compliance more palatable. It might even entrench the belief, a kind of capitalist realism, that there is simply no alternatives to this continuous, maximized 24/7 engagement with work.
That brings us squarely to the central conflict then, the authenticity of the autonomy you claim AI denies. Let's really look at the evidence. The critique against targets is that they deprived workers of autonomy, creating distress. So how does AI-driven personalization fundamentally change the underlying control mechanism when the ultimate metrics are still external, rigid, and, well, corporate?
Right. That is the core difficulty. You claim techno-autonomy, but the historical examples show how quickly corporate metrics just substitute personal purpose. Consider the educator, Karen, in the research. She noted that management's application of these rigid targets took her away from her principal goal, teaching children, because, in her words, it is all based on numbers. Her personal purpose was immediately overwritten by optimized metrics that benefited the administration, not the students.
But that is precisely the failure of blunt, standardized traditional systems. They impose a monolithic metric that conflicts with the user's self-efficacy and their primary purpose. AI is designed to avoid this substitution by offering personalized, adaptive solutions. It manages cognitive load dynamically. It assesses the user's current skill, it adjusts the tempo, the content, the difficulty of tasks in real time, all to ensure the external demands are perceived as a challenge appraisal rather than a threat appraisal. This adaptive alignment results in growth.
I understand the theory of cognitive alignment, but let's examine what that means for choice. You claim genuine techno-autonomy because the system allows users expanded choices they can use constructively. What does that constructive choice actually look like when the system is designed for maximization?
It's the ability to manage one's own cognitive resources across the day. For example, the system might allow a professional to, say, process lower cognitive load emails during their commute time. This frees up their prime office hours for complex analytical activities that require deeper focus. The individual uses the expanded choice, the flexibility, to maximize their output in a way that feels personally optimized for their schedule and their mental state.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. That's not autonomy. That is the system actively nudging you to optimize the moments of your life that used to be personal and, non-productive. You are filling every gap, every moment of personal transit with productive labor. It's the optimization of labor extraction into spaces that were previously considered personal time, and the system just makes this seem like a beneficial choice. It's control via convenience.
But that choice is freely made, and the benefit is clear. If you move routine tasks to low-focus time, you achieve flow in your high-focus time. And this focus brings us to the practical duality of AI-induced work states. AI tools proactively reduce external distractions. They automate those flow-blocking, time-heavy, repetitive activities. This is a clear benefit to the worker's psychological state and efficacy. It promotes task engagement and motivation, the very definition of eustress.
The benefits of flow are undeniable, I'll grant you that. Research confirms the positive physiological responses: increased cerebral blood flow, decreased blood flow to the amygdala, suggesting engagement and positive emotion. But you're describing a perfect scenario where the technology functions flawlessly. The technology itself, especially these advanced systems you're relying on, carries inherent negative risks that create new, and I would argue, severe forms of stress.
What specifically are you pointing to? The evidence shows eustress involves adaptive coping, and it leads to growth.
I come at it from a different way. Your reliance on explainable AI, XAI, to foster trust and challenge is, well, it can be counterproductive. Studies show that attempts to make the system transparent and helpful can actually increase hindrance technostressors. These are system-induced difficulties, things like excessive information overload and feature overload, which negatively impact performance and the intention to even use the system.
But those are configuration problems, surely, not fundamental issues with the optimization goal itself.
I'd say they are fundamental issues with complexity. Think about a high-stakes, real-time feedback system. If a worker relies on the AI to manage a complex portfolio, and the AI presents a dense, real-time explanation, the XAI, for a decision that immediately appears to conflict with the worker's own knowledge, well, the time spent debugging the explanation or navigating redundant features creates immense, debilitating frustration and distress. This is a cognitive burden directly caused by the system, and it undermines the very flow state it's meant to optimize. The system is fallible and complex, and that leads directly to distress, especially when users rely on these systems for critical tasks.
That's a compelling argument, but I would frame those hindrance stressors as part of the adaptive challenge. They are temporary friction points that, once overcome, contribute to techno-mastery. That resistance, that productive discomfort, is what drives individuals toward growth, improving their skills to cope with complexity.
I agree that adaptive coping is a positive psychological trait, but we have to discuss the ethical mandate of this entire optimization project. If the corporate context requires this productive discomfort only because the company needs that 500% gain to remain competitive, where does the individual's benefit truly begin and end?
Well, the individual's benefit is genuine psychological capital. When individuals successfully experience eustress, they feel confident in their ability to cope. They gain a strong sense of accomplishment and pride afterward. We are shifting the focus from simply reducing negative characteristics, like distress, to instilling more positive characteristics, like eustress and flow.
But the organizational driver for doing this remains profit. Look at AI-driven employee wellness programs. They analyze vast amounts of employee data, from health metrics to real-time performance feedback, just to deliver personalized nudges. This personalization is not an end in itself. It is driven by the corporate need to foster economic resilience and better performance. And the evidence clearly shows that the indirect effects of techno-eustress on performance are stronger. This means leaders are successfully reinterpreting technology problems or even personal psychological states as development opportunities, thereby changing stress into motivation for organizational gain.
I'm not convinced that organizational gain automatically negates personal growth. If a worker feels more accomplished, more motivated, and performs better, that confidence and skill travel with them.
That is a very optimistic framing that ignores the structural environment. If the system is so effective that it can boost productivity by 500%, what happens when the next competitive round begins? The 500% becomes the new baseline. The individual is placed in a constantly intensifying competitive environment where demonstrating resilience and mastery becomes mandatory simply to maintain employment in a climate of economic insecurity. The pressure doesn't disappear. It just moves inward, controlling the employee through psychic distress, economic insecurity, and worry.
But flow is a recognized psychological state that provides cognitive benefits regardless of the external pressures. The tool provides the opportunity for that intrinsic focus. The organization's mandate doesn't negate the reality of the experience of mastery.
The organizational mandate dictates the intensity and, critically, the distribution of the value created. That is the critical tension.
To summarize my position then, the data strongly supports the unique capacity of AI systems to personalize challenges and foster techno-eustress. By finely tuning the balance between skill and difficulty, AI facilitates superior psychological states like flow, leading to verifiable and substantial improvements in mastery, satisfaction, and performance. This represents a paradigm shift, really, away from the brute force, distress-inducing targets of the past, toward leveraging positive psychological variables for mutually superior, growth-oriented outcomes.
And to summarize my own, we must remain intellectually vigilant regarding the economic mandate underlying all of this sophisticated optimization. While AI excels at personalizing the challenge, the fundamental pressure to maximize profitability and extract massive productivity gains, up to 500%, remains constant. AI risks co-opting the most powerful, positive psychological states we have, like the intense motivation of eustress and the deep focus of flow, and embedding them within a pervasive system of managerial control. This system ensures worker compliance in a climate defined by economic pressure. guaranteeing that the extraordinary value created by human attention and effort largely accrues to capital.
The true enduring challenge, then, lies not just in the elegant design of the technology itself, but in the organizational and ethical structures that dictate whether this AI optimization functions as a tool for genuine human flourishing and skill development, or merely as a perfected psychological mechanism for capital maximization.
An essential distinction, and it proves that the more precise the technology becomes, the more rigorous our intellectual scrutiny must be.